Please welcome back to the stage, Ester Kurz.
So, for our next and final panel, we are privileged to have with us two of the most powerful, influential, and wonderful members of the U.S. House of Representatives. As the first women to serve as chairwoman and ranking member of the House Appropriations Committee, it's a really amazing, amazing accomplishment. Representatives Nita Lowey of New York and Granger of Texas are at the center of many of the most important policy debates in American politics, including the most important issues in the U.S.-Israel relationship. Their political views and background could not be more different, yet they have long understood the importance of working together to advance common interests and the good of our country. It began when they first served as leaders on the Foreign Operations Subcommittee and worked seamlessly together on pro-Israel legislation, most recently in passing this year's record $3.8 billion in security assistance and missile defense support for Israel. They deserve a lot of credit. They did it, really, for themselves. They join us today to talk about the role that the appropriations process plays in strengthening the U.S.-Israel relationship and advancing shared priorities for both nations. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage two incredible friends and supporters of the U.S.-Israel alliance, Representatives Nita Lowey and Granger. Take it from here. Here we go. Go. So we'll stay away from the lines here. Welcome, ladies. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for all you do. It's really a pleasure to have you. So let's talk, since this session is about bipartisanship, and I can't think of two representatives who more ably represent the issue than you do. As you know, it's getting harder and harder for Democrats and Republicans to come together on issues that they care about in the common interest. And bipartisanship is almost a dirty word in Washington, unfortunately. Yet the two of you have really defied the odds. And just last month, you did in a few weeks what all the top leaders in Congress and the president couldn't do in months, which is get a budget for the FY 2019 appropriations process. So congratulations. It was your first effort working together as full committee leaders, and it was really an incredible effort, and I think it's very hopeful in terms of the future for all of us. So, Representative Granger, let me ask you about the issue. What's the secret to your working so well together? And do you think it could be an example for other members of Congress to try and break some of the partisan gridlock that we're facing?
It absolutely can. And I tell you, the secret is a great mutual trust in each other, respect and trust. We like each other. She's fun. She's, she's smart. She's strong. But that mutual respect goes over everything. And when I was named to come as a ranking member on State Foreign Operations, where Nita Lowey was chair, I'll never forget it because we never worked together. I just passed. We're not that.
You were never even on the subcommittee, right? I remember you just got on.
So I was sort of awkward because I come in as a ranking member and she'd been on the subcommittee for some time and knew everything. But when we did that, she said, we're the only committee that's chaired and ranking by two women, and we're going to show them that we're going to do the best job ever, and we're going to do it together, and that's what we did.
And you did.
And we did.
Chair Lowey, you know the importance of bipartisanship to AIPAC and to everything we do. Do you think bipartisanship is still possible in this partisan environment that we're living in?
There is no question in my mind that in order to pass bills that are effective, to do our work, there must be bipartisanship. And I must say on appropriations, we have to get the work done. If we don't pass our bills, the government shuts down.
Right.
And I would say, working with Kay and working with the Senate, Senator Shelby and Senator Leahy, we managed to compromise and get bills passed. So in my judgment, I've been in the Congress, as you know, 30 years. I started when I was 10, I
Of
think.
course.
But I've been in the Congress a long time, and the only way the government can really function is with bipartisanship. So I'm delighted to work with my friend Kay Granger. And by the way, until the two women, Kay and myself, became chairs, the only female chairs were of the House Beauty Shop.
Right.
So we've come a long way, and it's an honor. We respect each other, and that's why we get things done.
And so if you understand it, yes. So if you understand this so clearly, why is it so hard for the men?
I don't know.
That question.
I think you'll have to talk to the men. And let me say this, because I've worked with some good men, like Senator Shelby and Pat Leahy. And I think Kay and I managed to work with them and get a really good bill done every year. So those who can't, who feel party is above issue and more important than policy, wake up and join the Congress of the United States of America.
Did you want to say something?
I will say, there's more that work in a bipartisan way than the press relays. I mean, there are always issues that we come together that really are in our national security issue particularly, and say, we need to work together on this. And so it just doesn't, getting along doesn't make headlines, fights do, but there are more. And if all of you are watching this, encourage your members of Congress to work together. Israel is the perfect example because it is absolutely, the support has always been bipartisan. But on all issues, just encourage them, and when they do, kind of give them a pat on the back. It'll help us.
I want to add one other thing, Esther, because I think it's important. And I know this year there are 18,000 citizens of the United States of America who are here. And when you come, yes, you can applaud yourself. And when you come to our offices, you understand the issues, you're well prepared, so you have the respect of members. Sometimes there are disagreements, but when you come and share the facts, usually there's support from both sides of the aisle because you know what you're talking about. And I also want to thank the incredible students who are here. I wanted to say that at the outset, just in case we run out of time, because I think what's happening on college campuses worries me even more than what's happening in the Congress. And the students, I know, are getting educated, you understand the facts, and you have a responsibility to organize, to speak out, and share the facts with everybody on college campus, whether they're Democrats and Republicans. So a big thank you to all the students who are here today.
Let's talk about the issue that brought you together for the first time, which was foreign aid and working on the Foreign Operations Subcommittee, and specifically aid to Israel. Chairwoman Lowey, this is going to be your first year as the chair of appropriations, and I know every chairman starts with, we're going to get all the bills done, and we're going to do them on time, and we're going to make sure everything. And actually, last year was the first year that we got close to that. But what's your prediction for this year and for the $3.8 billion in aid to Israel? Do you think it will pass? Do you think there'll be regular order with appropriations bills?
If I'm in the Congress and Kay Granger continues to serve with me, and we're not going anywhere, there is no question the bill will pass because there's bipartisan support.
And with the support of everyone here.
There is
making
no
the case.
question, but I do want to say There's one part of the bill that will not stand. The $3.8 billion for sure is bipartisan. But the White House, if I were another group, I may say, had the chutzpah to recommend a cut of 21% to foreign aid. Now, Mark Green, an outstanding head of all the programs that are important to aid all over the world, and to cut them 21% will not stand. I am sure we're going to work together, because what happens on our food programs, our health programs, our education program supports the United States position everywhere. So I will not allow that bill. Even though it has 3.8, you're going to see we're going to get rid of the 21% cut.
Let me add to that. As you're going to the offices, you're not asking for handouts. You're asking for continuing to support to one of our longest and most important allies, Israel. You're saying this is what we're here to make sure that you support. And one of the most important things to all other countries, they watch the United States. And if there were a cut like this, they'll say, have they lost some support for Israel? And you never want, that is not the situation. So go in there with great pride, go in there, I know you know what you're talking about, but you're saying, are you still standing with Israel? And that funding that we give, particularly the missile defense and all that we do there, $800 million, but $3.8 billion, I mean, that's a lot of money. Of course it is, but it goes to ensuring and letting all countries that might question that, we're still there and our alliance is just as strong as it always was.
Congresswoman Granger, you've also been a very strong supporter of aid to Israel and overall foreign aid. I know you'll support Mrs. Lowey on not making as drastic a cut as the president proposed. But sometimes it can be a tough sell, especially among those who are concerned about the deficit and looking to cut foreign aid. So we're going to, in addition to lobbying for aid to Israel, we also lobby for overall foreign aid, because we think without that, we can't be a strong country. In making that case tomorrow in Congress, what do you think are some of the best arguments that our citizen lobbyists can make in support of a strong foreign aid?
Just say, look what happened this morning. I mean, it couldn't be more timely to come in and say, can we depend on you when the attack that went on this morning that forced Netanyahu to go back home. But when something like that, it is proof that you can never, never let your guard down. And we can never let our support. At one time, I've been to Israel numerous times, probably not as many as Mrs. Lowey, but I've been there numerous times. And one time, a very important person from Israel said, can we talk? And without staff, just the two. I said, certainly we can. And what was said to me is, there are some countries that believe that the United States is no longer firmly standing behind Israel, and maybe that relationship is cool. And I said, that is not true. And we can never in any way let anything like that be said, because it's not true. And so what you're asking for and the importance of our two countries and the relationship could not be more timely and more important. And we shouldn't let an eyelash of light go between that.
Congressman Lowey, how about the overall foreign aid issue? I mean, what's the best argument to make? Why? And we understand aid to Israel is important. How about foreign aid in general? Why is that good for our country?
Well, as many people know, I have been a strong supporter of education. In fact, in all parts of the world, when you see uneducated people, and you're not focusing on girls in school in particular, because in many countries around the world, they think the men need the education, the ladies should stay home and cook. It's fine to cook. I believe in education. I'm also a great cook. We can do all that work too. But we must ensure education. So I always make sure there are billions of dollars to educate our young people, especially young girls. This has been a priority of mine. And frankly, there are always stories we share. I remember traveling to one country. It happened to be in Arusha in Tanzania. And our foreign aid money was helping some women to open a factory that was making cheese. So there was education money, there was guidance in business, and when you saw these young women standing tall, so proud of themselves, no man or no husband is going to push these ladies around. They had a sense of themselves, and through education and all kinds of foreign aid assistance, they were able to open a business with their education, raise their kids, and be proud of who they were. So we cannot stop foreign aid. Now, all of this, of course, is in addition to the foreign aid we provide for Israel, because nothing, no one, Democrat or Republican on my committee, would ever challenge those dollars.
There's also a big component of foreign aid that's spent in this country. I mean, in fact, with Israel, it's 3/4 of the money is actually spent in the United States. And I know F-35s are a big issue in your home state and lots of other home states. So there is
Absolutely.
the element that it's not just money that we give overseas, it's money that's spent here at home for.
We worked together. President Bush had there are people who come to Congress and say, we just give that money away. Why should we give that money to other countries? So you have to constantly educate those and say, we don't just give away money. President Bush said, in countries that we want them to help themselves, then we made a pact in some of those situations. This is not Israel, but for instance, in Peru, they asked for some aid that they needed for education, all sorts of things, and they had one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the world. And so what the United States said, we will help you, but we want you to help yourself, and we want you to look at that issue, particularly the number of women who died giving birth in Peru. I was asked to go, after they'd worked on that, to congratulate them. They lowered that by 60%. 60%. Makes an enormous difference. And so our foreign assistance, that was the first time we said, we'll do this, but you need to do this for yourselves. And that's been incredibly successful. So anyone who thinks that we just give out money and it's not well thought of, it's just wrong. Be sure and call me and Ms. Lowey, we'll explain it.
You know, Kay, I remember you mentioned George Bush, and I remember when Bono took George Bush on a tour to look at the suffering of the HIV and AIDS victims and to see what we can do to help provide assistance and medical care through our foreign aid bill. Well, George Bush came back a great supporter of foreign aid, and in fact, I think if you talk to him, he would say that the work he did with Bono on HIV and AIDS was his major accomplishment as president. So bipartisan, working together, we have to help all of us understand how important foreign aid is. So as long as we get that $3.8 billion, we have to work together to make sure that foreign aid is funded and assist people all over the world. There's so much hardship, so much pain, so many kids who are going without food, without education. How proud we are to be supporters of the United States of America throughout the world and helping lift people up.
Important message. Congressman Granger, you mentioned missile defense and what happened this morning. And unfortunately, the Iron Dome did not stop the missile that came in from Gaza. And it was a tragedy that 7 people were injured and 2 toddlers. But it also reminds us of how important that missile defense funding is, because yes, this one rocket did go through, but just imagine the hundreds and hundreds and thousands of rockets that did not go through because Congress so generously funded Iron Dome and David Sling and Arrow. And last year you were chair of the Defense Subcommittee, and you passed a bill that had over $700 million in money for missile defense for Israel, and that was very important. Congress has always taken the lead on this issue. Now, for the first time, missile defense is actually in the MOU, which is also very important to concretize it for the next 10 years. Are there other ways that you can see Congress helping Israel meet the threats that it's facing?
We do it. There's the security is the primary funding that we do with Israel. There's other issues, and it's a constant reevaluation. What is the need? But the security situation is the most important. So missile defense, particularly, first time Iron Dome has been attacked, and so we need to look at that and see it's a constant reevaluation of what we do. But it is extremely important. The first time I went to Israel, I was stunned by this small country that's so important to us, surrounded by these enormous countries that hate Israel. And they say it every day. We hate Israel, want to wipe it off the face of the earth. We can never forget that. And so as that changes in the situation with Syria, we need to constantly be evaluating and not only help the countries like Israel that are so important, but also they're bad actors in that part of the world. And we need to say, you're bad actors and you're attacking the United States when you attack Israel.
Important reminder. So before we conclude, I just want to ask a personal question about, you have been real trailblazers for women in politics and achieved, again, becoming the chair and ranking member of Appropriations, first time in history. Maybe you could share with us some of the lessons you've learned on the way to the top, and maybe a message to the aspiring women politicians in the audience about what they might do to achieve their goals. Maybe you want to start, Congresswoman?
Well, again, I think I began that way. I want to welcome the young people who must assume responsibility for support for the Israel-United States relationship on their campuses. I am very concerned. I know I have 5 grandchildren in colleges. Yeah, it's pretty expensive. But it is essential that AIPAC continue to be active on the college campuses with both the men and the women. And there are many, many activities that involve our young people. But helping them be leaders, understand they can't say it's someone else's job. You know, I began my career as a young mother, head of the PTA, and people ask me, how did you run for Congress? And what should I be doing? And I always say, there are some people who see a problem and just walk on. And other people, like myself and my mother helped indoctrinate me with that. If you see a problem, you have a responsibility to do something about it. And I know on the college campuses, people are worried about getting straight A's, and they're worried about what major they should pursue. But if there is a challenge to the relationship between Israel and the United States on a college campus, thank you again to all of you who are here, and I hope your numbers will continue to multiply, because we all have a responsibility, be it a man or a woman, to face the challenges that are ahead of us. So thank you, thank you.
I'm going to speak to the young women in the audience. Some lessons that I learned. I spoke to a college group just this last week. Don't let them anyone put you in this is a woman's job. When I first came to Congress, because I was mayor of a large city and I did a lot of public speaking, and so I get a call from the speaker and say, Kay, we're having this bill, we'd like you to speak. And I'd say, what's it about? And he'd tell me. This went on, and I said, before he told me what it was, I said, is it education or child care, which you're asking me to speak on? Because let me tell you, women speak on every issue. He said, what is your issue? And I said, it's defense of this country and the military. And that's been every year that I've been in Congress. I've served on a committee that dealt with keeping this nation safe and making sure our military is strong. So find that, and I tell women, be tough. You can be tough. Now, pick your fights. Don't be tough every day, because then you'll be just, well, that's who she is. No, but be tough and know your issues, and don't be fearful of standing up. We just went through a negotiation, 4 people, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, 2 from the Senate, 2 from the Congress, on a very important issue, and that's our border security. I'll say to these young women, be tough, but be prepared. You can say, I leave this table if it's wrong, and you have to be willing to do that. So when you're saying, yes, this is what we stand for, and then be able to be tough and hold that. And that's how we work this thing out. But there's such a wonderful opportunity, so just remember those things.
Well, having worked with both of you in the past, I know there are no 2 tougher people in Congress than the both of you, and thank goodness you're on our side, and we're very grateful for that, and very grateful for your being here, and thank you for all you do. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Big round of applause for Congresswoman Lowey and
Thank
Granger.
you.
Ah, not. Thank you.
You okay?
Great.